could be the dude that introduced me to the guy or the girl that makes the next hit single that we're gonna do. You know what I mean? You just don't know. So it's like you have to be going there and hitting the pavement and like finding those people to keep creative and like to keep the sessions rolling in and keep on top of the stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a thought and it kind of just was in my head and it just left my head mid sentence. It happens.
It's good because it's pre-recorded. We can just edit this out.
Oh yeah. You don't worry. I'll do the edit.
Yeah, no, I'm saying you, not us. Yeah.
Yo, I did used to work at a studio though, and I had to edit podcasts, and I have so much respect for people who edit podcasts. But I will say, if you're trying to get better at vocal production,
that's the way to do it.
Go edit a podcast, because I have gotten so good at reading transients, like timing vocals. If you go edit a podcast, you'll be a baller at timing vocals, because you're seeing how everything's lining up. You're seeing what a transient is and how that corresponds to like how it's hitting your ear and like what that is. And honestly, it's helped so much like doing, and it's not, podcasts are a labor of love, right? Like it's
oh, for sure.
And it's really hard to do. Like you have to go I have so much respect for what you do, man, because you have to go get all the time codes of the ums and the mouth sounds and all the different stuff, and it's like, but then when we go and edit pop vocals and we're trying to get like thick Katy Perry-esque layers, it's very helpful to know that information, you know? So
dope. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to edit every out. We keep it like fairly casual. Yeah. I do edit. I do spend a bit of time editing.
I know. Thank you for doing that.
I recently started doing it at Logic has like a very speed mode, so I started doing it at like 1.3.
Oh, that's smart. That's really the sauce.
Yeah,
I gotta think about that.
That helps save me a little bit of time in the editing process.
We could do that for
a good idea.
Tuning.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good idea. Do that for tuning.
Yeah. Because you'll know.
Although
if it's
with
wrong.
Melodyne, it takes so long, anyways, to do a perfect job.
Actually, here is a tip for Melodyne that I figured out. If you have multiple, like it's, Melodyne's a big program, so it's like you don't want to do too many tracks at a time, but like it's so time consuming to like transfer it in each track by track, is I'll do like 4 tracks at a time. So I'll do the lead, double L, double middle, double right, all at the same time, or I'll do all the harms at the same time, track them all in at the exact, and I'll go like make coffee while it's tracking it in.
Nice. Yeah, and then you
go back and spend all your time going track by track.
Yeah, and then you go do the next batch. Yeah, I usually batch. The truth is, it's been a while since I've done like a lot of melodyning, but I would also batch it like 5 at a time or something.
Yeah, it's much more time efficient. Yeah.
But like, don't touch the ARA inside of Logic, because that stuff will mess you up.
What's that ARA?
The ARA, it's what I'm talking about with
Is it the?
So you don't even have to import it into Melodyne.
Oh, I've never heard of that. Do you know that?
No, I don't know that actually.
Do you guys use Logic?
Yeah, we're Logic freaks. We know a lot about Logic. We love Logic.
So there's Melodyne ARA, like I think starting Logic 4 and Melodyne 4, where just hypothetically, if it's the first channel in your chain, you could open ARA. It's like random access audio or something. And it just like you don't even have to import it into Melodyne.
Oh, so it's not like
just reads it.
Oh, I see.
It's not like hosting it.
I see what you're saying.
Like
gotcha.
Normal.
Yeah, but it's so buggy. Don't do it.
Okay. After all that
to say, just don't use it. Yeah.
No, I was so excited about it. I was like, this is going to save me so much time, and it just bugged out, and I lost so much work that I just don't even bother with it.
It didn't save you time at all. It actually doubled the time. Yeah,
exactly.
Even for programs like Vocal Line, like we have it, and I used it a few times, but I'd much rather time things by hand.
Really?
It'll inevitably be faster, and you'll get a better. Yeah,
we usually time things by hand, unless it's just like a choir of things, which we don't really do many.
Unless you're giving us 100 vocal tracks.
Yeah. If it's just like the doubles and like harmonies, we'll just time them by hand.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought Vocal Line was amazing for that stuff.
It is good.
It works like 50% of the time.
But it does do you leave some artifacting sometimes, and I don't know. There's some things I don't love about it, and we have it, like I said. So if we do need to use it, we can. But I don't know. Just there's something about us lining the vocals up and getting exactly the precise thing that we want out of it that just feels like
maybe we're not doing it the right way either. Though, like I'm open to the fact that I don't know everything. We don't know everything.
I don't use Vocal Line, so I'm not the guy to tell you. But there's definitely someone who's been on this show who could tell you.
Probably. Right. I will say though, the best vocal.
If I leave this go in.
Oh,
yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say, if you just do an amazing vocal like getting the performance right, that's the best timing there is. We're really big about
just like doing a bunch of takes to get it right.
Yeah, and comping correctly so that you get good like timing in the comp. Sorry, what were you saying though, dude?
Oh no, it's all good. Yeah. Well, so if I leave this segment in, even though it started from a mistake, which I guess I'll just leave it in because this is interesting. Whoever knows more about Vocal Line drop us a line.
Tell
and
us. Tell us how we could speed it up.
Yeah. Oh, so what I was going to ask you guys was like, has COVID affected any of like your incoming work? Have people said no because of it, or has your work, increased even because of it, or despite it?
I feel like at the beginning, it was like really tough.
Because no one knew what was happening.
No one really knew, and we had a bunch of things canceled. And, I think it's probably the same story around the board, right? And then as people got more comfortable, it's like, okay, we're going to start doing virtual sessions. People are going to start sending us acapellas to produce around. You know what I mean? And now I feel like we've kind of worked it out. We have kind of a system that kind of just works of like our virtual sessions and like if somebody sends an acapella, how we're going to do it. And now I feel like people are like actually even hungrier to work sometimes because like people, they don't want to sit around. You know what I mean? There's nothing to occupy their time anyway. So a lot of artists are like, oh yeah, I'm going to release a bunch of music next year anyway, after this whole thing's over. So let's get a bunch of stuff done now. You know what I mean? So, and same thing with for like writers and songwriters and stuff. I feel like people are hungry for it now. Then I think the first like month or even two was like really slow. It was kind of like scary. Yeah. It's like, okay, what's going on? Like we got to figure this whole thing out.
But I will say though, we've made some of the best songs we've ever made on Zoom sessions. Like we did a song with this guy, this artist, his name's August, and he lives in like a rural part of like, he's like 9 hours out of Toronto.
Yeah, he's up there.
He's closer to like Minneapolis. Oh, wow. Like, yeah, he's in like a small town.
Yeah.
Never would have ever had the chance to meet the guy unless it was for a Zoom thing. And we made a killer track in an afternoon. Joe and I weren't even in the same room either. We were all Zooming together.
My gosh.
And then we logged off with him, and Zach and I went in and produced the track.
Again, remotely though. And we were done basically in that one day.
And you know what? That's a good story about like having a good network because that guy, obviously, middle of nowhere Canada, but an amazing artist. He's been popping off on Spotify. He's got some playlist stuff going like
killing
that.
It.
And my friend Luke, who I know, who works with he works for the X Ambassadors. He's been kind of like spending some time on him, like kind of developing him and whatnot. And Luke just emailed me one day because he knows I love the kind of music he's doing, which is like hip hop influenced kind of pop punk stuff. He was like, "Yo, I've been working with this guy August. You should really work with him. Are you guys down to do a virtual session?" I'm like, yeah, of course. Thinking virtual session, he's probably in Los Angeles, but he doesn't want to get in the same room. We log on with him. He's like, oh no, dude, I'm in the middle of like nowhere, Canada. It's like, I would have never even stumbled upon. How would I have ever worked with you?
He had to. There's like one studio in the town that he went to like record the vocals.
There's like one guy that had like a decent microphone that recorded
but it worked out.
But
perfect.
They sound great. Yeah,
he sent it. We run it through our chain. It sounds like we were there in the same room.
Yeah. It was funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So tell me a little bit about your setup. Are you using audio movers? Like, how do you guys run a virtual session?
We're not.
No, we're not.
We had...
Tell us everything.
Okay.
We had audio to Again, I don't know why. Just not a big fan of it. Just never really
worked 50% of the time.
Never got the hang of it. Didn't love it. And, to be real with you, Zach and I, usually what we do, our preferred way of working, we'll log on with the artist and or songwriter or both, maybe, in some cases. We'll help write the song, melody, top line it, get them going for the first 2 hours. Then Zach and I will be like, okay, cool. Can you record a scratch of that? Send it to us. Zach and I are going to log off and start on production stuff. Because honestly, it's really hard to program drums around when somebody's trying to work out a melody with a co-writer on Zoom. You know what I mean? You can't really, it's just hard. It's different when you're in the room together. You can definitely do that because they're in the back of the room bouncing ideas of each other. But you got to think, these people in their house, in their headphones, trying to hear the other person bounce an idea off while Zach and I are doing hi-hats and drum loops, that's not going to work.
And then they're also critiquing your work based off the environment they're hearing it in, which is their Apple whatever headphones or their MacBook speaker. So it's they're like, oh, can you add some more low end to that bass? And you're like, bro, this bass is bumping, but you're listening to it on a MacBook. So it's I feel like it allows you to actually you get to log off and do have your private time, which is actually something you don't get when you work in the room with an artist.
Yeah. And then what we'll do is usually come back with a rough sketch of production, and then we'll log back on, hey, what do you guys think about this? And then oh, this is great. Let's tweak this, love this, let's fix this, blah, blah. Cool. And then Zach and I will go and spend some more time on it and usually send the next day. You know what I mean? It's usually our working method for those Zoom sessions.
And the other thing I was going to say too is we always try, especially for Zoom, to have starts. So usually Joe will do 2 and I'll do 2 starts of a guitar loop or just keys or just something because
to get it going.
Yeah, and then it's something that like they can listen to. It works on a few different levels. One, it's giving them something to listen to prior to the session, letting them know that you care enough to do that too. But also like it helps get the ball rolling because we're usually doing things that we think the artist is going to be interested in, right? Like this guy August, like he's kind of doing like an alternative thing, so we did some alternative stuff. But as you probably know from doing sessions, and a lot of people may be listening, just because someone's last song was an alternative song, usually they end up being like, now I want to do Britney Spears. It's like always like a 180. So it's like it actually gets it out of the way earlier to know based upon our starts if we do something that they don't want to do that. So then we're not wasting time in the session trying to do that.
We always say that, like, honestly, we don't have to use any of these. Like, there's no pressure, but honestly, it'll get us to where we're going faster just by telling us what you like and don't like about the stuff. You know what I mean? So that's one way we've been doing it. Because when you're in the room with people, it's easy.
So you guys just kind of like work out like a short... you just pick up a guitar and do just like record like a quick little MP3. Like, what do you think of this?
Yeah, and we'll just label it the key and BPM, and then we'll put in like a box folder, and then we'll just send them the folder before the session. Like, hey, here's 4 different small ideas. We had like 8 16-bar loop things. You know what I mean? Like nothing crazy because like nobody wants to write over like a full beat usually, unless it's like a rapper. You know what I mean? So if it's like more pop oriented, just be like super simple.
But it shows them that you care too, and I think like on a psychological level, like you're already entering the session in a really great space of like, man, you spent an hour before this session doing some stuff. I'm not paying you to do this. Like, so I think they're then coming to the table with like, it's like a reciprocity thing. You did something for them. Now they want to bring their best work forward to the table too. And I think that's shown really good results for us.
Yeah, it has. It definitely has.
Yeah.
Nice. And so you're just streaming your DAW through the Zoom, and that works okay?
Yeah, we just do like the share computer audio, like if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? And then we'll like we'll just share it that way. I mean, again, when Zach and I are producing together, sometimes it'll be Zach and I in the room and then everybody else on Zoom. Sometimes it'll be Zach and I separately on Zoom and then somebody else like a 3-way or 4-way.
Yeah.
So it just depends. But I mean, since Zach and I work together so much, when him and I are just going back and forth on Zoom, him and I mean, we know, you know what I mean? Like, we know what we want out of each other and, like, what we want out of the song. So
and we can hear through it, too.
And we can hear through it. It's like, oh, yeah, I know that bass might sound a little wonky right now just because, like, the streaming. But, like, I mean, I know Zach's going to come with a fire bass line, so I'm not too worried about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's definitely one of the perks of working together so much. It's like,
for sure.
You have to worry about some of that stuff,
But I will say, to your point, though, like, when we used audio movers, the quality was much better.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I get why people use it. I think our problem with it was that unless... And I don't know if this is like one thing we've noticed too, that a lot of top liners, I think it's and songwriters didn't have a vocal setup and they don't either know how to record themselves or they're not confident enough in it. So it'd be like, it was really great when the person we were doing this, the writer had a vocal setup and they knew how to work a DAW, but if they didn't, then there'd be a lot of delay on both ends and we'd have problems like trying to get a scratch vocal track and stuff like that. So like one session that we did, this girl, amazing writer, she sent us voice memos and then we had to edit together. Like that was her scratch vocal.
Yeah, her scratch vocal was just voice memos on her phone. But we made it work. I mean, but
she's amazing too.
But it's because she was so good. It's like, oh well, you and
she was in Canada too.
Beast at what you do, like top liner vocals.
Shout out Canada.
Shout out Canada for Toronto.
Yo, shout out Canada for being amazing people.
So nice.
My wife's Canadian. My wife's from Toronto.
Oh, amazing. We love Canadian.
So there you go.
Better healthcare.
They gotta go Canada,
dude, for sure, dude.
Yeah, way better.
And I've had a bunch of Torontonians on the show recently.
Have you really? Toronto's got it going on for sure, dude. Actually, honestly, if it wasn't so cold, I'd make a trip up there more often.
We have so many people. There's this girl Lolo up there, and
so good. This guy Jordan that works with her.
Yeah, we love them. Yeah, we love people from Toronto.
Yeah. I think Christian Montano, who was a mastering engineer who was recently on the show, he's like, oh yeah, I think he was telling me after the interview, he's like, yeah, oh yeah, Canada's great. It's just pretty cold sometimes.
Oh yeah, it's like it's the word. I've been there in the springtime. It's great, but like, dude, there's like 3 months when you can go outside there. It feels like it's crazy.
Yeah. It's a little more than that.
Yeah, I know.
It's like 6 months.
Yeah, I'm always cold, so for me,
Joe is always cold.
Oh, really?
I run very cold.
Says the guy from the East Coast.
I have a very low tolerance. Yes, for cold. So yeah.
So LA, I'm sure LA's been treating you nice.
Oh yeah, that's one of the reasons I want to move out here. It's like, yo, I can go outside most of the year. This is amazing. Yeah.
It's funny too because I'm like born and bred LA, and I even notice that it's getting warmer and warmer every year. Like even this year, like it's gonna be 90 today, and it's November. Like that's kind of weird. Yeah. But like Joe is living the life because it gets warmer and warmer every year.
I'm not mad about it.
He's not mad about it.
I'm like you, Zach, and in Israel it's getting hotter every year, and now it's finally winter. It's like finally.
They're very similar climates, right? Because like I think LA has a Mediterranean climate, so it's like in terms of like maybe the highs and the lows. Like I believe when I was there, like it was fairly similar in terms of like parts of the world.
It's a dry heat.
At
least in Jerusalem, it's a much. Tel Aviv can get real swampy.
Are you in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv?
I'm in Jerusalem. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Jerusalem's way better.
Really?
It's much.